Hi my dear children, I hope you all are healthy, right? Yes. So, almost your term 1 portions are over. Now we are going to see your term 2 portion, that is your 7th lesson, right? So, your 7th lesson is about parts of plant. So, I am Nirmala signing in to make you understand about your next concept. So, in your 3rd standard, your 2nd term and your lesson name is parts of a plant. So, let us see about parts of plants. So, you all know that plants are living things, right. So, we can see different type of plants around us. So, many plants are very small and some plants they are in a limit height, right, and some plants or it will be in the form of trees, right. So, we can see big trees with a huge big trunk, right. So, there are many types of plants, right. So, they are in different shape of leaves and they are in different sizes, right. So, today we are going to see about parts of plant. So, let us see about parts of plant. So, in the plant is divided into 2 sections, right. So, the top section, that is the upper portion of the plant that we can see, right. So, that is known as shoot system. So, this part is known as shoot, right. So, let us write. So, this part, so above the ground, so this part is known as shoot system and the below part that we cannot see, right. So, the roots where they will say, right. So, the root that we known as root system. So, there are 2 types of parts. So, shoot system and root system. So, in this root system we can see the roots, right. So, which goes beneath the soil, and in the shoot system we are going to see about the stem, leaf, flower, vegetable and fruit, right, and of course there will be seeds inside the fruits, right. So, these all come under shoot. So, now we saw root. So, root is under the plant, right. So, stem is a shoot, leaf, flower, vegetable, fruit and seeds. So, these are all the parts of a plant. So, now let us see in detail about the root. So, you can see there are 2 types of root. So, one is known as tap root, T-A-P, tap root. So, one type of a root is known as tap root. The second type of root is known as fibrous root, F-I-B-R-O-U-S, fibrous root, right. So, tap root and fibrous root. How it has been classified into 2 types. So, you can see the root of this plant, right. So, there is one root and from that primary root you can see many roots coming here, right. So, many roots are coming here. So, this is the primary root and there are many roots coming as a branches from this main root, okay. So, this type of root is known as tap root, right. So, the main root and there will be many primary and secondary and tertiary roots when it is present. This plant has a tap root system, and the second type is fibrous root. So, fibrous root means it will not have any main root. So, you can see many roots coming from the bottom of the plant. So, from the bottom of the plant there will be many roots like this, like a bunch, like a gottun solvanga illaya. So, that is known as fibrous root, right. So, when there is a main root and there are roots from the main root is known as tap root, and when there is a bunch of roots that comes from the base of a plant, so that is known as fibrous root, right. So, now you are clear with the types of the root, right. So, how many types of roots are there? 2 types of roots. So, first one taproot, the second one fibrous root. So, now let us see what are the plants that has taproot. So, here we can see this one is hibiscus, Hibiscus. So, hibiscus is also known as Chembarati, they will say, right. So, hibiscus is a plant that has taproot. So, you can see the main root, from the main root you can see many roots arise from the main root, and rose is also a taproot. So, R-O-S-E. So, rose is also a taproot, and then the banyan tree. So, the banyan tree also has a taproot, right. So, these plants has taproot. So, when we look under the soil about in their roots, so they have taproot. So, the next one, so we are going to see about fibrous root. So, what are the plants that has fibrous root? So, grass. So, this is grass. So, grass is a example of fibrous root. So, you can see the bunch of roots come from the base of the plant. So, grass, and then sugarcane. Sugarcane is also a example that has fibrous root, right. And then onion. So, onion is also a example of fibrous root. So, you can see a bunch of roots that come down in the base of the onion, right. So, onion, sugarcane and grass. So, these plants have fibrous root. So, அந்த வேர் எப்படி இருக்கும், நல்லா கொத்தா வந்து அந்த பேஸ்ல இருந்து கொத்தா இருக்கிறது fibrous root, right. So, these are the plants that has fibrous root. So, now let us see. So, what is the function of the root? So, now we are going to see function of the root. So, in the root we saw 2 types, and we saw the example of the plants that has taproot and fibrous root, right. So, now let us see what is the function of the root. So, this root, it is fixed into the soil, right. So, thereby it makes the plant to fix into the soil, and thereby it holds the plant very tightly, right. So, the roots make the plant to fix in the soil, right. And also because of the formation of the roots, the plant is very tight, and we can prevent the soil that should be eroded. So, if there is a wind or water, heavy water, because of the roots, the plants or the trees will stay there itself very tightly, right. So, and also the main thing is the roots help the plant to supply water and minerals from the soil. So, you can see this is a root, right. So, the roots, so once you pour water into the soil, so in the soil there will be water particles, and also the soil contains the minerals. So, minerals. So, the soil contains minerals, the soil contains water, right. So, this roots, they absorb the they absorb the minerals and the water from the soil, and they supply to the plant, right. So, how the plants get the water, how the plants get the minerals means through the roots only the plants get the minerals and the water, right. So, after it gets the after it absorbs the water and the minerals, it supplies to the shoot system, right. So, this is the main function of the root. So, now let us see about the next one. There are some plants that store their food in the roots, right. So, now we saw that root has many functions, right. So, some plants, for example, carrot, beetroot, radish, and this is one is turnip. So, what are they? Carrot, beetroot, turnip, and radish. Okay, so radish and turnip, right? So beetroot and carrot. So these plants, they store the food in the roots. So if the excess amount of food, sometimes when the plants prepare their food, some food is consumed, some food is used by the plants for growth, right, and the remaining food is stored in the roots. So the root also helps in storing the food, right, inside it, right. So that food only we are consuming, we are eating. So it can be carrot, beetroot, then turnip and radish, right. So these are all the examples of the plants that they store food in the roots, right. Yes. So next one we are going to see about stem. So stem, I told you there are two systems in the plant, right. So the top part is called as a shoot system. So in stem comes under the shoot system. So what are the functions of the stem, right. So you can see what is here, you can see in through the slide, you can see the stem keeps the plant upright. So because of the stem only the plant is straight. So it keeps the plant upright, and also the stem supplies the water and the minerals to all the parts of the shoot system. So it supplies the water and minerals to the leaf, it supplies the water and minerals to the flower or the vegetables, right. So let us see, there are many types of stem that we can see. In many plants we cannot say the stem of all the plants will be similar. So ella plants ko ore vidhamana stem irukku solla mudiyadhu. So the stem of each plant varies, right. So we can see in the neem tree or in a mango tree. So whether the stem will be very thin, no, right. So it will be very thick. So we can see very hard and strong stem in the neem and in the mango tree. So let us see. So in the neem tree and in the mango tree we can see a very strong and hard stem will be there, right. And in some plants we cannot see the hard stem. So the stem will be very slender and very thin. For example, so in the money plant or in the creepers like bitter gourd or any kind of gourd varieties, so the stem of those plants will not be very strong as neem or strong as mango. So it will be very slender or very thin, it will be very weak, right. So examples are money plant. So you can see the money plant stem. So how it is it's very thin, right, when compared with the neem or when we compare with the coconut or when we compare with the mango, right. And then bitter gourd. Bitter gourd means pavakkai. So bitter gourd. So if you see the bitter gourd plant stem, so it will be very slender, very thin, right. So it will not be very strong as like those plants like neem or mango and all, right. So there are different type of plants that they have different stems. Now let us see, there are plants that they store food in their underground stem. So there are some stem present under the ground, so that we cannot able to see, right. So for example, onion, potato and ginger. So these come under underground stem. So they are not called as roots, right. Even though they are present under the soil, we should not call them as roots, right. So they are called as underground stem. So they come under stem only. So underground stem. So some plants, they store the food in the underground stem. For example, onion, potato and ginger. So these are all the plants that come under underground stem. So onion is a stem actually, it's not a vegetable or it's not a fruit, right. So, it is a stem that we are eating. The same way potato or the ginger. So, even the potato is not a vegetable, it is an underground stem. So, that the plant stores the food, right. So, generally it is available in the market along with the vegetables. So, that is why they generally call it as vegetables, but it is an underground stem. Even the ginger is also a underground stem. So, now children, in this session we saw there are two parts of plants. So, one is shoot system that we can see and the root system that is below the soil, right. So, what are the parts of the plant? Yes, roots, stem, leaves, flower, fruit and then vegetable. So, these are all the parts that we can see and they come under shoot system, right. So, after that what we saw? We saw about, yes, we saw about the root, right. So, what are the functions of the root? So, the roots make the soil to fix in, the roots make the plant to fix into the soil tightly, thereby if there is strong wind or strong water, the plant cannot move it, the plant will not be moving from that place. So, that the roots make the plants to fix in the soil very tightly, and also the roots absorb the water and minerals from the soil and it supplies to the plants, right. So, these are the functions of the roots that we saw, and also we saw there are some plants that the roots that the plants store the food in the roots. For example, carrot, beetroot, turnip and then what else that we saw? We saw about the beetroot, carrot and then radish, turnip, all these are roots that the plants store the food, right. And we saw what are the two types of roots, right. So, one is fibrous root, the other one is tap root. So, tap root you have a main root, and from the main root there will be many primary or the secondary or the tertiary roots come, right. So, that root is known as tap root, and fibrous root, from the base of the plant you will have a bunch of roots, small roots, kottu they will say, right. So, that root is known as fibrous root that we saw, right. And we saw some examples of a tap root, right. So, we saw hibiscus and then banyan tree and then rose plant, right. And what are the examples that we saw in fibrous root? Yes, onion, sugarcane and grass or wheat, right. So, those are the examples of fibrous root, right. So, after the root, that next one we saw about stem. So, what is the function of the stem? The stem makes the plant to stand straight, right, and also the stem supplies the water. So, once the root supplies to the stem the food, the water and the minerals, and thereby the stem takes up the water and minerals to supply all the parts in the shoot system, right. And also the stem, there are some plants that they store food in the underground stem. So, in the below the stem underground there will be also a stem, for example, potato, onion and ginger, they store food in the underground stem, right. And also we saw we cannot say all the plants will have the same type of stem. Some plants will have very thick stem and some plants will have very thin. Some plants have very strong stem and some plants very weak stem. For example, for strong stem we saw neem and mango tree or coconut tree or banyan tree, and for very weak stems we saw about bitter gourd and money plant. So, these are the examples that we saw. So, almost in this session, so you learnt about root and stem, right. So, hope with the next class I will see with the remaining topics. So, till that revise this lesson and go through the related materials that we have given in the underground under description link. Thank you children.